This is Allie from Allykatkreations, or Allison, whatever you want to call me. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. I got co-host 1 and 2. You barely see him. Happy full moon in Aries, my sign. If you get anything from my work, an epiphany, a mic drop, a connect the dot, a book to read, or a new author to explore, please consider helping me out, supporting me, my work, my move, whatever have you. It's greatly appreciated, and I want to thank everybody who has already helped me in any way that you can, whether it be a share, a repost, a like, just supporting my work in general. It's really appreciated. It's the Hunter's Moon. Manifesting night. So I got a text message from my realtor. Hey, a guy named James is gonna come survey your land tomorrow morning. Well, why the fuck didn't he come like at the beginning of the month? Or at the end of September when they came to do the drone and surveying? You already did everything else. Stupid fucking banks. Why does this take so fucking long? I don't know. I don't get it. Pissing me off. Happy that I got a phone call. You know, not a phone call, text message. Wish it was a phone call. So he can absolutely hear the utter disdain that I have for this long drawn out, not necessary process. Stupid. Really stupid. Anywho, we're going to read The Key of Destiny. Number 21. No number. We're getting very close to the end of this book. And the end of this book is very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. With what is going on in the world today. Spirit sinks pretty damn well. Sit back, relax. Quote, know that the stream of superhuman knowledge and the Deva wisdom thou hast won must from thyself the channel of Alaya. Sounds familiar. I read it in the Secret Doctrine. Be poured forth into another bed. Its pure fresh water must be used to sweeter, make the oceans bitter, waves that mighty sea of sorrow formed of the tears of men, end quote. The voice of the silence, Blavatsky. Very similar words written in the Secret Doctrine. Quote, the 21st path is the intelligence of civilization. And it is so called because it receives the divine influences which flows with it from its benediction upon all and each existence, end quote. Sifa Yitzra'ah. Do you see why it's sinking? I hope you guys figured it out by now. In this number, we find the man who has completed his evolution through the double cycle of 20, in which he became one with the Father, the one life, and has again taken this one life for his rod and staff and used it as his magic wand, as he did in number 11, to strike the rock of hard earth conditions, that the refreshing water of life might flow and give of its refreshment to the world. He has also drunk of the living water until it has become within him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. We have seen him, on the strength of his living force, complete a second cycle of 10, a cycle which might be called the Word made flesh, or the divine one life absorbed into the physical and differentiated into the dual forces of spiritual and corporeal life. Therefore, as man perfected in duality, 2. In number 20, we have seen him sit in the seat of the mighty and become the vicegerent of the God within, now standing at the right hand of the unmanifested circle of his next cycle, thus 20. And number 21, we see the soul starting out on this third and great or divine cycle of manifestation, 3 being the number of divinity. This is really a superhuman cycle for now perfected dual manifestations of the soul, the completed and truly united man and woman, 2, as separate personalities, have been indrawn into the higher self upon their completion in the number 20 of their separate cycles. Although that indrawal and union with the higher self, the circle, ended the necessity of the higher self for further incarnations in the flesh, nevertheless, the perfected personalities have left behind much karma and many creations which they must redeem. The spiritual ray, which constitute their higher self, having completed its mission in matter, very key word there, by having built up masculine and feminine vehicles, and so purified and perfected them that they are one with it and capable of manifesting all its positive and negative God powers on earth, now withdraws to higher regions, leaving the perfect and now superhuman personalities or completed individuality as its representative. This complete individuality remains in the higher realms, but sends down a ray of itself to animate a new, but temporary personality through which it is enabled to work out all its old karma and redeem its leftover creations. The completed individuality thus in turn becomes the higher self of the new personality and guides it step by step along the same path by which its oneness was obtained. This doctrine is confirmed by the secret doctrine as follows, quote, in this case, after the physical translation of such a saint or Bodhisattva, his astral principles cannot be subjected to a natural dissolution like those of any common mortal. They remain in our sphere without human attention and attraction and reach. And thus it is that not only a Buddha, long word, I'm going to do my best, Shankaracharya, or a Jesus can be said to animate several persons at one and the same time, but even the principles of a high adept may be animating the outward tabernacles of common mortals. When corporal death takes place, the following mysterious event happens. As the Dharmakaya, nirvani, without remains, entirely free from the terrestrial mixture, the spiritual ego cannot return to the reincarnate on earth. But in such cases, it is affirmed the personal ego of each a Dharmakaya can remain in our sphere as whole and return to incarnation on earth if need be. For now, it can no longer be subject, like the astral remains of any ordinary man, to gradual dissolution. It has become too holy and pure, no longer by reflected, but its own natural light and spirituality, either to sleep in the unconscious slumber of a lower nirvana state, or to be dissolved like any ordinary astral shell, disappear in its entirety. But in that condition, known as the Nirmanakaya, the nirvana with remains, he could still help humanity. End quote. The working of this law effectually disposes of the persistent claims made by many that the great soul, known in her last incarnation as Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, must incarnate again and cannot possibly be still working in the astral world and redeeming the many mistakes of the early days, which she acknowledged both of personality and of teaching, and from that world redeeming her karmic leftovers through lesser personalities. I'm cold, guys. Therefore, the number 21, we see the perfected and dual individuality, two perfect tens, now sending down its ray in the new one at its left hand, showing that this new one is a minor incarnation or temporary personality. If we consider 21 as a 2 plus 1 or 3, it also brings us back directly to the divinity, showing that the perfected 2 has become divine and stands at the Father in heaven to the new one. We also note that in 21, the figures are the reverse of those in number 12. We therefore see that in 21, the perfected individuality reaches its spiritual majority, at which time it becomes independent of the Father, which has been indrawn to higher worlds, and sets up its own household, of which the new one is the offspring, of which contains all the powers and forces required to manifest such temporary personalities as it may be necessary to project for the completion of the work and the redemption of its creations. As we have already explained, when a child is 12 years of age, the ego takes full possession, and it is said to have reached physical puberty. So in 21, the completed individuality has reached its age of spiritual puberty, can take up the creative work of the Father through the new one. Very interesting. In a much higher sense, at this point, the completed individuality can say, as Jesus said to his parents when he went at 12, he was found in the temple, quote, "How is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I must be about my Father's business?" Since he was of age, he could sit in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions, end quote. And the learned doctors understood that at that age, the ego impresses much upon the sensitive brain of the child, hence patiently listened to him and answered his questions. Now at the point, which is symbolized by 21, the higher self enters into the great temple of the universe, which is that which the temple at Jerusalem was meant to symbolize, and standing in the midst of the Elohim before the throne, both asks and answers questions, gives the accounting of his stewardship. For the number 21 have already come one with the Father, now becomes a conscious executor of his Father's business. But this work is not an easy one, for in the long cycle of necessity, in which the soul laboriously climbed to its heights of completed individuality, there were many evil creations of its own, which, until fully reaching this stage, it had neither the strength, wisdom, nor ability to redeem and adjust. If in each incarnation we had literally to redeem every mistake as we went along, no soul would ever reach at 1 mint, for there would be little left for progress. Because God is a God of love, and love is a perfect balance of wisdom and mercy. It is the earnest struggle, the persistent effort, the valiant facing of every foe within, and above all, the ardent devotion to ideals and the realization of divine love that brings a slow but sure growth into oneness with the Father. Because it is the realization of the God consciousness and divine love by which we gain the victory. Therefore, the advancing initiate finds many things with which he is unable to cope, and like the disciples of Jesus, many devils he is unable to cast out until he not only holds the rod of power, but has become the rod himself. Many of us are doing that now. This is distinctly Christian doctrine. In fact, it is just this little understood phase of life of the Superman to which Jesus alluded when he said to his disciples, quote, "He that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall be he do, because I go unto my Father," end quote. The completed individuality, Jesus, was to be indrawn and leave his representatives on earth to do his work in succeeding ages. The world has been growing more and more dense, more and more stepped into the darkness of materiality, and the karma left behind, the trail of slimy serpent, is more difficult to redeem. Therefore, that which must be accomplished by the higher self in the later ages is far more difficult than in former ages. And because the higher self now has greater or harder work, it can never enter into the fullness of rest until it can say with Jesus, quote, "Those that thou gravest me, I have kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition," end quote. It must perform greater works, for the greater the evil, the greater the strength is gained by overcoming and transmuting it, and evolution never stands still. Quote, "Those that thou gavest me," end quote, are the various personalities which have been informed by the higher divine ray, while the son of perdition means all the emanations and creations of the lower animal soul, or we might say the adversary of the higher self, made up of all the entitized evil that the various personalities have created in the long struggle during which they have warred against the divine guidance and have refused to follow and obey. This evil have been entitized by creative thought force because the personality has free will until it's a living monster, quote, "the dweller on the threshold," end quote, which must be met and absolutely overcome and transmuted by the higher self, and its influence over the personality destroyed forever. The personality can be redeemed, and the completed individuality can accomplish his Father's business. This monster stands even at the threshold of each new onward step, and in its very truth, the son of perdition, for it is but the ephemeral entitization of evil and perdition, and is killed or perishes only when every perverse and evil thought and creation of which it is made up has been turned around, redeemed, and made to work for good. What's going on right now? Who knows? Things are being turned around. Some people swap to the good side by force. Maybe. We must also consider 21 in its aspect of 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 21. For while 12 is a number of fruition on earth or the field of accomplishment within the zodiac, it is but the reflection of 21, which is the fruition or field of accomplishment in the divine realms. This is a most sacred number for number 7, because it is both male and female, divine and mundane, or 3 and 4 to the 5th, contains within it the symbol of the greatest test of the humanity of the planet. Through perfect blending of the mystic forces of 2, male and female, into spirit creative power. Hence 7 is the magical number for par excellence, and the magic of its perfected rest of the equilibrated forces, which have completed the unrest of 6 periods of labor, and now rest in the midst of the perfect sphere. The number 7, 3 times repeated, is the rest of all 3 worlds. Also, from the Kabbalistic reading, we can see that the 3 sevens mean a perfected man in the 3 worlds, and also the ultimate perfection of all human race. Hence 777 must be considered as being concealed in 21, as 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 21. It is the totality of the mystery of life in the 3 worlds. Hence we find that the number 21 is called no number and is passed over in silence for the same reason that the secret name has merely indicated but never spoken by the Hebrews. This number relating as it does to the works of the soul after it has completed its earthly pilgrimage and become Superman, and in point of fact no longer exists on earth except in its results. From this point of view, may be called no number. The usual way to interpret this number is as the ultimate of magical aquarium, and it is only too often confounded with the vulgar idea of divination, namely the power to divine that which is hidden, or to exercise magical power rather than its true meaning, to exercise divinity. We must also consider 21 from the aspect of 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 21 equals 3. Since 7 is a number of perfection, the 3 times 7 would be perfection gained in the 3 worlds, or the threefold rest of the Christ power after its 6 days of labor in each world. Again, the idea of no number is emphasized, for this is the rest that remaineth for the people of God. For just as the 3 sevens are ultimately summed up in 3 bracket 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 21 equals 3 bracket, the triune Godhead. So is this rest an indrawing of the individual into the nirvanic rest, or merging by expansion of the individual consciousness into the divine? Oh, that's good. That's really good. That's kind of summing up what's happening to a lot of us right now. I would say, yep. The 21st letter, Shin. Quote, he caused Shin to reign in fire and crowned it, and combining it with the others, sealed with it the heavens and the universe, heat in the year, and the head in man, male and female. End quote. Sefer Yitzraya. And I read that book on this channel. Quote, again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and streweth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. End quote. St. Matthew 4. The 21st letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Shin, one of the 3 mothers. In Kabbalistic meaning is a tooth, while it carries the double sound of the 15th letter, shemek, a prop, and the 5th letter, he, a window, this may sound somewhat confusing. Yet if we consider each carrying a different shade of the same meaning, we will find all fit into its fundamental meaning, which is that of fire. Shemek is a masculine letter and he is a feminine. Hence the esoteric meaning of Shin and the fire of perfect love manifesting when men and women are united as one and embodying the divine fire. Applying the idea of fire to the cosmos, we find that there were 3 distinct stages in the coming forth of the cosmos out of the primordial cipher, which attributed to one of the 3 mothers or one of the 3 aspects of the divine creative fire. In this first chapter of Genesis, we read, quote, God created the heaven and the earth, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, end quote. This first creation was brought forth by Elf, the air, for the spirit of the breath. And it was by the spirit of the breath that God created the heaven and the earth. Quote, God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good, end quote. This was the first creation of beginning forth through Mem, the water, which, as we have said in the former chapters, is a symbol of the divine mother side of the Godhead, that which after the breath had animated the cosmos, gave solidity to it by the brooding power of embodiment through the mother love. Hence God saw, or we might put it, the mother aspect of God, Mem, saw it that everything was good. Just as a hen gathers her little newly hatched chicks under her feathers and sees to it that no harm shall come to them, that they shall be warm and safe and comfortable, or as a mother cherishes, feeds, and tends a newborn infant, that it may have every chance to grow in health and strength. We might call this form of creation the formative or the cherishing power of love to solidify and make permanent structure. The third creation is through Shin, or fire, which purifies, tempers, and hardens. This is noted in Genesis 2, 6-7. Quote, there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, end quote. The mist was caused by heat, fire, evaporating the water and moderating the cold. Hence only a fire entered as a third constituent of the earth could man be made of the dust of the ground. Since in manifest in each world, the soul must necessarily build up a vehicle or body composed of the substance of that world. To manifest on earth, a body must be perfected, composed of the materials of the earth, or literally of the dust of the ground, or the soul can function here. Since man then contained all the elements of the manifestation, he became a microcosm or a cosmos in miniature. Thus it is that Shin completes man, as above, so below. No creation can be completed until this force of Shin, or heat, has done its perfect work. The whole process of the 3 mothers created in matter is illustrated in the making of pottery. Here the earth or clay is mixed with air, then water is added until it can be molded into form, and finally it is burned in a kiln, that the fire may purify, harden, and make permanent the form, just as the heat of the mother's kiln or womb, where it remains for the period of completion, 10 lunar months, is necessary. To perfect the form of the child, again, just as Mem, the mother love, completed the creation, so in Shin, only when man and woman are truly joined in one can the fire divine love purify and solidify and complete their formation as the twain who are made one flesh. The Kabbalists, in their usual minute analysis, have compared the effect of heat in separating distributing, and preparing all things in creation, to the use of the teeth in masticizing food and preparing it for assimilation. The two sounds S and H, shemek, a prop, and he, a window or eye, both refer to man. Hence, we must look at this letter as the final creation which makes of man the window or eye through which all the lower kingdoms may look towards God the Creator, and also as their prop or their sponsor to God. Also, as the quotation which heads the chapter tells us, this letter or fire seals the heavens through the power of the sun, the eye of the world. In man, the head contains the principal heat centers of the body, yet only as the centers are bathed in the pure bloodstream from the heart does the head become the distributor of heat to the body. Hieroglyphically, Shin expresses a vibration from one pole to another, with a point of equilibrium in the center. Hence, it is a sign of relative duration. The vibration of love between man and woman is but a vibration from the creative fixed point of equilibrium, the creative dot, that is permanent. The 21st Tower card, no number. Quote, chance, as taught by Cornelius Agrippa, is in reality an unknown progression, and time but a succession of numbers, end quote. Officius Levy. The Fool. Again, this is the modern representation of the tarot card, the Fool. Because sometimes the depiction changes from its original source. We have the sun. We have a cliff. We have mountains. We have whatever this fool is taking, whatever it is, going on a journey, taking a leap of faith into the unknown. Let's read about it. The 21st card of the tarot is called the unnumbered card, also the Fool. In this card, we see a young man pictured as wearing a fool's cap as his crown of life. His clothes, although gaudily bedecked as to surrout, which is adorned with the fool's bells, are nevertheless badly torn. His trousers scarcely covered in nakedness, yet he goes, sorry guys, skip the page, carelessly on his way, paying no attention to the dog, which is biting his leg. The power by which he stands firm and progresses. The dog symbolizes his animal nature, which at this step he has subdued, and because he has made it his friend to follow at heel, he heeds not its playful bites, yet nevertheless it interferes considerably with his ongoing. He carries in his right hand and uses the walking stick, the rough limb of a tree, instead of the straight wand or rod of power, which his initiation in the 20th card conferred upon him. In his left hand, he carries a forked stick cut from a tree. This he awkwardly carries over his right shoulder, while dependent from it forks hangs a wallet. There is a well-established belief in the power of such a forked limb to assist in magical ceremonies such as locating water, gold, or other metals beneath the earth, dowsing. Such a stick is called a divining rod. The point where the two forks meet, between the point of balance or equilibrium, one who has reached the step symbolized by the 21st card should, though correlating with the equilibrium in his own nature, be able to assert his power over nature. But this foolish youth has used the crotch of his divining rod as a covenant place to carry a wallet, or he has perverted his powers to obtain gold and supply his personal needs. The modern version's a little bit different, by the way. He has unthinkingly approached a precipice where a crocodile is waiting to devour him. The crocodile is a well-known symbol of esoteric wisdom, and in very truth, it will devour everyone who, having reached this step and passed a great initiation, yet who, instead of absolutely subordinating and ruling his animal desires, permits them to flow at heel, playfully biting at his legs, or who endeavors to take them with him on the path in the role of friends and accompanies instead of servants, thus allowing them to distract him and impede his progress. Since the tarot has always been called the Book of Life, and since this is the 21st card, the next to the highest of the series representing the entire evolution of man, and following directly after the card of initiation, it would not possibly refer to primitive man as claimed by certain writers. The primary meaning of the word fool is not that of an imbecile or even an ignoramus, but one who acts without judgment. In other words, one who knows better, yet does not govern his acts by his knowledge. One who is lacking in knowledge or mental capacity is not a fool. He is merely ignorant or mentally defective. Oh, that's bad. Therefore, in spite of this card being called the fool, it must refer to an advanced disciple, one who has struggled to obtain, but having obtained does not use his knowledge wisely. One who has reached great heights, yet is subjected to the subtle temptations of the higher selfishness and desire for power, has fallen and therefore deserves the admiration given to the church of Sardis. I know thy works, that thou hast a name, that thou livest, still appears before the world as one who has obtained, and art dead, has failed. Remember, therefore, how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repeat and repent. It represents that exceedingly high mountain, a spiritual attainment where the Christ man receives his supreme temptations, but in this case has failed in the temptation of power. He boasts of his power over nature's forces, of his ability to interpret her laws, to bring from the depths her hidden treasures to enrich those who acknowledge his leadership. He boasts loudly of his power over his own animal nature and takes pleasure in showing the world his contempt for conventionality, symbolized by the exposure of his person, talking loudly of the purity he has won, hence the needlessness of proper clothing to cover his nakedness. Yet on his head the fool's cap proclaims aloud the utter fallacy of his pretensions, and sooner or later the waiting crocodile will devour him. This card therefore symbolizes the negative or left-hand path of one who has through laborious effort climbed to the heights of initiation, yet has fallen. And verily such a one is no number. For when the crocodile devours him, his name will be blotted out of the book of life for this world period, and he must begin the climb all over again to the future aeons. Thus spoke number 21, the fool. Though we don't see a crocodile in this one. Number 22 is amazing. And I'm really sad because then this book ends and I really love this book. And now I have to find another book from them because they're incredible. Incredible. Just love this book. So I hope you enjoyed the book, The Key of Destiny. Happy full moon in Aries. Very important moon. We need to manifest. We need to become our I am selves. And the journey through this book is showing us how to do that. Esoteric or not, there's a lot of truth in here. I resonate. I hope all of you have a wonderful upcoming week. Gotta wake up early to a surveyor. Yay. Hopefully that brings me steps closer to getting the F out of here. I'm tormented as it is, and I'm going through my initiation. I'm closing in on this number 22, I can tell you that. As we're going towards this new world, this new society that we're going to create, think about the journey and how you can apply what you're going through with this journey through this book. Sending each and every one of you love and light. Please be safe. Speak really good intentions in that order tonight. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.